am. I don't like
You also
lingering.
forgot the music.
Nope, there it is.
You guys have music?
All right, welcome into episode 28. No, 7. Is it?
Oh.
Yeah, no, it's 7.
We're fucked.
I don't know why. I was thinking 7. I said
Fuck it,
8.
We'll do it live.
We're doing it live. Welcome to episode 27, not 28. Rashad Penny retired. We all knew that.
Oh my god,
Breaking it down for you.
Mike, did
We
your
have-
internet go out yet?
Better not. I worked so hard on this one.
We have today for you, actually, we have some NFL news to talk about this week, which is surprising because the past couple weeks we haven't had much at all. And today we are going to start a new segment while we're still in the preseason where we go over our top player rankings. We gave you a sneak peek last week. We're here to dive into it this week. And today we're going to cover our top 12 quarterback rankings. I think we're all very different, but we'll get into that later. But before we get into that, let's talk news.
All right, let's go. Want to know what the best part of the news is? Football is back, guys.
That's part of
Football is back. Yeah, I know. I already messed up that, but that's fine.
We're the
football
fools.
is back. We finally had another game, which, I mean, let's be real, it wasn't super fantasy relevant. I mean, it was the first game of the preseason, but hey, it was fantastic to just see some of the guys going. Any surprises that you guys noticed? Cam Akers is one that stood out to me.
Yeah, actually, Mike, it's funny. You and I were texting, and it made me laugh. So that Thursday of the opening game, I was out to dinner, and I'm driving home from getting dinner with some friends, and all of a sudden I look over, I'm like, "There's a football game?" And I texted you, and I'm like, "Mike, did you know football started today? I thought it was next week," and it was awesome. But surprises,
Then it
you
got
mentioned
canceled.
Cam. Yeah, and then it got rained out. You mentioned surprises, and I definitely think Cam Akers was one for me. We were chatting about that actually offline. It's going to be interesting to see what he does now that he is behind the Texans, and that's Dameon Pierce and Joe Mixon.
Yep.
And it'll be interesting to see, like, hey, Mixon gets injured a lot. Pierce hasn't been playing the way he has. Is Akers going to finally see his year?
We'll see. I mean, I will say, just so everyone on the podcast knows, it is the other way around. It's Mixon and Dameon Pierce. But you're right. I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see where they go after that. You said Dameon Pierce first. He's not the RB1. It's okay. Anyway, going on to other news, though.
Semantics.
This one is
Also said
actually
Joe
pretty
Mixon.
crucial. This one is actually pretty
Thank
crucial. So Christian McCaffrey has strained his calf and will not play the rest of the preseason. So that is really relevant for everyone pretty much going into their drafts.
I'm not surprised.
Why
Why would he play in the
what?
preseason?
Because to get the reps, I mean, guess what? This has given me a little bit of Joe Burrow vibes last year. He strained his calf and it affected him through the first month of football. So gives me a little bit of scares, but hopefully everything will work out well. Another one that was scary, and that's at the top of everybody's drafts, right? Puka Nacua is week to week with a slight knee injury. McVay has come out publicly, said it's nothing bad. He should be ready to go for week 1, but that's another one to monitor. Other ones that don't necessarily have as much relevance for that first round or even that first probably 5 rounds. Josh Downs and Rondale Moore both went down hurt at practice. So those are some of your depth pieces. Rondale Moore, I hope you're just not going for, but hey, he's still a player. We wish him the best.
Wow,
Malik
that was so
Neighbors,
nice
though.
of you. Aw, Mike cares.
Yeah, I do.
Mike
But
cares.
I care far more about this next guy, Malik Neighbors, in the New York Giants market, looking dominant. They ended up actually having a mixed team practice. The Detroit Lions and the Giants, they basically had a mixed team practice for 2 days consecutively. And what ended up happening is Neighbors apparently caught 17 of 18 targets thrown to him, and basically it resulted in a couple fights. Jordan, that's your team. You want to talk about it?
Man, I mean, it's exciting to see them have some fire. It's pretty typical apparently at joint practices that some sort of scramble happens. But one thing, apparently Daniel Jones got into the second pile up and shoved a few guys, and it was right after basically Brian Dable had told him yo, it's practice. Watch out for these defense. Don't let them hit your arm. It's still practice. And then the next play, he's like, fuck that. You pushed my guy, and he jumped right in there. And afterwards, he was asked about it, and he was like, whatever. Got to stand up for your guys. So that was pretty fun.
I love hearing that. I love hearing that.
I like it too. Luckily nothing happened with it. I think it's all just in good competition. So
I agree with you. I don't think it's anything too critical to be looking at. But moving on, Geno Smith was both out and then came back to practice. So again, whether or not you're looking at Geno Smith in your drafts, that remains to be seen. He did have an excellent season 2 seasons ago, but was not really living up to his hype last season. So maybe he's going to be more of a depth guy anyway, but just keep it in mind. Not Malik Neighbors. CeeDee Lamb is still waiting for a new deal. All he's watching is the price tag go up. Jaylen Warren for the Pittsburgh Steelers has basically gone. He's gotten another small injury. We'll see what that does to him and Najee Harris. And lastly, Brandon Ayuk traded to where? We don't know. Steelers, Browns, Pats, all teams that are heavily rumored right now.
So the last thing I read
just want to backtrack. It's Jalen Waddle, not Jaylen Warren. It's Waddle.
Oh, I'm sorry, I read that wrong.
Yeah, sorry, Jalen Waddle.
Waddle like a duck.
I missed that.
You can't Warren like a duck. You can't
read,
Warren
man.
like a duck, Mike. You can't Warren. You can waddle though.
I can't read. I'm sorry. I blame my teacher.
Hey, I should have done that. Wait. Yeah, there we
go. All right. But the last comment on the Ayuk trade, from the 49ers reports, you haven't, what? You good?
Good. I'm great.
You child. Okay.
I thought it was the end of the episode, so I cued the music. I'm sorry. I thought we were done. After we learned Mike can't waddle.
Mike can't waddle. But
I can waddle. I can't read.
Latest rumor is that Ayuk's on the 49ers side, they're like, no, we haven't, we're not close to finalizing things. So, it might still be that they're just like, listen, we either get what we want or he plays for us this season at this point, and their asking price is pretty high, but it seems like season's coming closer and closer. I think the Steelers makes the most sense. On which team could probably, all three of these teams could use a receiver, to be honest.
Oh, they all could easily use a receiver. But, you're also talking about, is Brandon Ayuk going to be the answer to any of these teams right now?
No.
All three of these teams, two of the three of these teams have a receiver that they're probably going to have to give up to get Brandon Ayuk, right? You're talking the Steelers and the Browns. Browns are going to probably have to give up Cooper, and the Steelers will probably have to give up Pickens. So what are they really doing? If the
Browns could somehow land Ayuk and keep Cooper, they were a playoff team last year. I would hope Deshaun plays better than Joe Flacco. We'll see.
Yeah, honestly, I think this drops Ayuk's value from a fantasy perspective, and overall, I don't know. I don't think like Mike, you said, I don't really think it helps many teams. I don't think it hurts them, but
I don't think. Yeah. I think Ayuk is a good player, but I don't think he's a super game breaker in fantasy anyway. So this is kind of just NFL noise right now that we just need to monitor because it's going to affect other players on each of these teams.
Yep.
Well, I think that Macy, he's kind of like T. Higgins. If T. Higgins went somewhere else and became a number one, his fantasy value goes down for me. He has value because he's a really good receiver that also has a great receiver on this team.
That also has a great quarterback.
Right. Yeah. Then you got the Steelers, the Browns, and the Pats, who have yet to prove they have a good quarterback.
Deshaun.
But so that was the NFL news. Wow, we actually got through that. There was news to talk about. That's impressive. So diving in now to our 2024 player rankings for this fantasy season. Obviously, we're all excited. Our drafts are coming up, and this is the time to get ready. And so we're going to dive in with our top 12 quarterback rankings. Starting off at number 12, and we're going to work our way up. Mike, who do you have as your number 12 quarterback?
All right, so this is exciting to me. I came up with a huge spreadsheet to try and calculate all this out, and I'll be honest, I have some pretty big surprises for what I was expecting. But at number 12, my number 12 quarterback for fantasy in a full PPR format, by the way, I have Deshaun Watson coming in. And I think this is actually a bit surprising. I think a lot of people probably have Deshaun Watson significantly lower, but what people seem to forget is Deshaun Watson, how good he is in the rush. And it's because he has been really hurt or just suspended for the past 2 seasons. But even in the games that he was around last year before the injury, or around his injuries, I should say, he only had 5 games or so, but 3 of them were still top 12 performances. And he still put up 6 rushes a game. So if you're talking about having that apply over a 17 game season, and if he could stay healthy, that's going to amount to a lot of fantasy points. So I like Deshaun Watson at 12.
Yeah, I didn't. I'm exactly where you commented. He is not even close to 12. I've got him at 23. Actually, Jordan, where do you have Deshaun Watson?
Man, I have him like 23.
That was a segue for a comment about how we were both aligned on our thoughts, and you totally failed.
I mean, he did miss it, but it's fine.
Yeah, I
was
was
a
researching
softball.
other numbers, but basically,
That was
we're
a
right.
softball.
Mike is wrong.
Very.
Deshaun will barely be second QB worthy.
It's going to be great when I can point back to this, assuming health, of course, when I can point back to this episode, and he's going to finish right in that top 12 as a starter in the season. I'm
only
going to
happen if Ayuk goes there.
I disagree. I think Cooper can support that.
We'll see.
Prove me wrong.
I don't know.
Huh? Prove me wrong.
We will. For my number 12, I had Brock Purdy, San Francisco 49ers. I feel like Purdy is going to be a starting quarterback, but I also think the starting quarterbacks this year, there's a lot of good talent out there. And I know Brock Purdy is good, and I've seen his value last season. He was, I think, number 8 or 9. But this season, I think because of the more experienced, younger talent, I think they're going to surpass him.
Man, Brock Purdy was a really good choice. I had him at 13th, so he was right in the mix for me. Personally, my choice for number 12, I went with Caleb Williams. I think that one of the rookie quarterbacks is going to actually have a top 12. It's going to someone of the rookie class. They'll have a top 12 season. I don't think it'll be Jaden Daniels, only because he's with the Commanders. I just don't think that system's ready for that. I think CJ Stroud was kind of an anomaly, but Caleb Williams has 2 wide receivers that were top 12 last year. He has an offensive line that's improving. He has a true running back with DeAndre Swift, who is pretty solid. And he has a top 10 draft pick as a receiver with him. Like, even if he does, pretty good at throwing the ball, he's got a great supporting cast.
I hate that I agree with you. I actually hate that I agree with you. It's friggin' terrible because I know I want to hate on Caleb Williams so badly.
I know you do.
But guess what? He's also my number 11 pick. It's for all the same reasons you just said. He's my number 11. So
sorry to steal your thunder.
No, that's a perfect segue. Thank you. But he's my number 11 because he has all those reasons and all those resources like you just said, right? Except you're even forgetting one other thing that's going well for him, right? He's on the Chicago Bears for defense. They're going to be one of the best defenses in the league. So on top of them having all these offensive weapons to just put up yardage and put up stats, he's going to have a defense that's going to shut down whatever other team they're playing. So, they're going to be on the field all the time.
I purposely didn't have that so you could.
Thanks.
I'm not a believer, and I've said that since we've started talking about him. And I put him at 24. I think he is going to crash and burn, as we're all hoping. I'm
hoping.
I think he's going to crash. He's going to have the type of season that who's the guy from the Panthers quarterback? Just
Bryce Young.
Bryce Young.
No,
I think he's
Breece
gonna
Hall.
no Bryce Young. I think he's gonna have a similar season to Bryce Young did last season. Even though he's got weapons, I don't believe he's gonna do anything. But at my number 11, I actually, contrary to both of you, I went optimistic, and this is a hot take, but I've got Patrick Mahomes at number 11. You saw him regress last season. I think the regression is going to happen. I really do. Last season, he ended up number 8. He didn't even break 300 fantasy points on the season last year, obviously depending on your format. But in my half PPR league, he didn't even break 300 fantasy points. And I think you're going to see him regress. There's other guys who I think are just more fantasy relevant.
And Mike, you want to go?
I'll go. I'll take it. I think you're completely wrong. Patrick Mahomes, I think we can all agree outside of fantasy, he is the best quarterback in the NFL. And I think last year what you saw was a regression of his passing stats. And I believe that came for a reason, sure, because they just weren't necessarily throwing the ball as much. However, I do think they're going to come back because his efficiency numbers were a little bit down compared to what he used to. He got another weapon. They invested, obviously, to get Xavier Worthy, which is going to open up the field at the very least, right? Travis Kelce's still going to end up being there. He actually had he had a season where he just didn't have anywhere near as many touchdowns as he usually does. I think his numbers are going to really get pumped up this year. And I guess we'll see.
I will make a comment, Mike. You mentioned that his passing attempts last season dropped, but his passing attempts actually were on average with where he's attempted to throw in past seasons when he's been number 1. He had 597 attempts last season. His first season in 2018, he had 580, where he was first. Season 2020, he had 588, where he was fourth. Obviously, 22 and 21, he did have higher attempts, but he also had more rushing attempts last season than any other season that he's had. So productivity-wise is where I am seeing him go down. He did not slow down attempt-wise last season, but he did slow down fantasy-wise last season. I still think he's a great quarterback, and I hate that I'm saying it, but fantasy-wise, he's going to go down.
You're wrong.
So I'm just looking right now. Right now, his attempts last year were under 600 passing attempts, right? The 2 prior years, he was right around 650, so he did go down in attempts. He also just didn't have as many weapons last year. He just didn't yet. His best weapon outside of Kelce, who did regress, we all know he regressed, right? But his best weapon outside of him was Rashee Rice, which basically was a rookie.
So who does he have this season?
He has one more year of and more experienced Rashee Rice, and they have Xavier Worthy, who's supposed to be everyone wants to claim he's like the next Tyreek Hill. So guess what?
Rashee Rice, how many games is he missing?
We don't know yet.
Right now.
None right now. None right now. We don't know yet. But
right now, it doesn't seem like he's missing anything.
So
go, Jordan. Sorry.
Okay. So I think that you're wrong because Pat Mahomes has been in the league since 2018. He has no. 17. I totally agree. Totally.
2017.
Okay, fine. He has only been
Who's
starting.
Wrong?
Yeah, Tyler's wrong. You're right.
Yes.
Pat Mahomes has only been in the league since 2017. He's been starting since 2018. Since 2018, he has never finished lower than 8th. He's done that twice. Every other year, he's finished 4th or 1st. And you think he's going to finish 11th? I totally disagree with that. I think he's at least going to continue being top 8. I think he's a safe pick for your number 1 quarterback because I think he's probably going to end up at least top 5. Now, he has Xavier Worthy coming in. He has Rashee Rice coming back from another season. Travis Kelce's coming back. We'll see what Noah Gray is. But they also brought in Marquise Brown, who I have a little more faith in Marquise Brown than Juju Smith-Schuster.
MVS.
No, MVS is...
I'm saying I have more faith in Hollywood Brown than MVS.
Yeah. So the thing is, we saw what Marquise Brown did when Kyler Murray was healthy. Pat Mahomes and Kyler Murray are not even in the same conversation. So I think we're going to see possibly the best you could see out of Marquise Brown, and he'll hit his ceiling. But I think Pat Mahomes is going to be top 5.
I mean, we can move on, but I don't even think with Arizona you saw what Kyler did with Hollywood Brown. So no, I don't put that much faith in Brown. But again, you know, it's going to be an interesting season to see how that plays out. Jordan, who is your number 11?
I have Kirk Cousins. Kirk
Wrong.
Cousins, he's been he was really good until he got hurt. The season before, he was number one for a while. So he's been quietly good. I think he's still going to put up top 12 numbers. I think he's going to get the best out of Kyle Pitts. I don't think Kyle Pitts is going to blow up as much as people think, because he just seems to be, he seems to disappoint. But I do think Kirk Cousins is going to be top 12 here. He'll make, Drake London is going to be the guy in that offense to look at besides Bijan.
This is a really interesting pick, actually. This is a really interesting pick. And I'm going to say I really like Kirk Cousins yet again as an NFL quarterback. However, he is we're looking at our lists of top 24, and he is not in my top 24. He's actually in my number 26.
Really?
He's my number 26 for me. And it's honestly not because of anything other than he's going to the Falcons, who I believe will be I believe they will focus a little bit more on the rush. So they will end up rushing more because they have Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. They're going to use those guys. So
okay.
I think his passing numbers will be down, especially given the fact that not only is he going to a rushing team, in my opinion, he's also not having Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson alone is going to be a massive number. Is going to be a massive addition on all of his stats. He lost Justin Jefferson. So I think the passing game is going to go down, and he has zero. I'm literally saying almost zero value in the rushing game. He is all passing.
That's
and
true.
All of his passing is going to be down.
However, Bijan was almost targeted out of the backfield almost 100 times.
Oh,
so
yeah. But his efficiency numbers are going to be down.
Yeah,
I think Bijan is going to be insane. Bijan is going to be insane. I have Bijan being
I think he's gonna
top
get
3
a lot.
easy. Bijan, I can see Bijan actually being the number 1 running back. However,
now,
his
my
catches,
point is that Bijan likes to catch it out of the backfield. They did that a decent amount last season.
Oh, you're 100% right. I agree with you 100%, Jordan. But I will say this: when you throw to Bijan, you're only going to get 8 yards out of the throw. When you throw to a wide receiver, you're going to get 12, 13.
Fair.
You guys remember I'm in this podcast too.
Yeah, but you didn't do any of your calculations, so.
Okay. Jordan, I had Kirk Cousins at number 14. That's all. Number 10. You guys talked about Kirk Cousins enough. I didn't want to drag that out. We talked about Mahomes enough. Thank you.
Yeah, we did.
Mike, number 10.
My number 10 was already stated. I have Brock Purdy, and I do think Brock Purdy is going to have a great season. Obviously, that's reflected at number 10. I think that's going to end up being on the back of all the talent that they have around them, to be honest.
Yeah. I have, again, and I think this is another hot take that you guys aren't going to agree with, but I have Lamar Jackson at number 10. Again, last season he was top 5. He was number 4. But I don't know. Again, I think he's going to drop.
Man,
I don't go. You, Jordan, you go first.
I think Lamar's going to drop. I don't think he's going to drop as much. What do you think, Ty?
I just think
sorry.
He's going to drop, and others are going to rise. And even you talk about
Agreed.
10-point difference at year end. 10 points could be make or break 5 positions, really, because at this point, the quarterbacks, there are a lot of good ones, and I feel like they're all going to be, a lot of them are going to be fantasy dominant, and that's why I just think Jackson goes down, but everyone else goes up.
I agree. Mike?
I think you really do see a regression in Lamar. I'm with you. He's higher on my rankings than yours, but he is not in the top 5. I'll be honest. I'll give you a little spoiler there. But for him, he doesn't throw the ball all that much. He doesn't have that many stars that he wants to throw to at all anyway. Mark Andrews is really it, right? And I just think his rushing game, I think in my rankings and in my calculations for my stats, I think he fumbles a lot, to be honest. So that really kind of hurt him in my rankings. I think you have a couple of young kids who are going to pop up and maybe take a little bit of those rankings from him.
And, Mike, I also want to say, while last season he had his most rushing attempts, so that's where you get his points, he had his second lowest yards per carry last season with his legs. And that's where I'm going to see it, because you mentioned I don't think he can throw the ball. I just don't. I think he's not a great passing quarterback. And now that time is going on, no matter how many rushing attempts he takes, his yards per carry is going down. His fantasy relevancy goes down.
Oh, you're totally right. However, here's the one thing though, like who's he throwing the ball to? Like that's right. I'm actually talking like to your point. He doesn't have really anyone to throw the ball to. I mean, everybody likes Zay Flowers as a talent, but this is why this entire podcast I think is very down on all receivers, right? In the Ravens offense.
Yep. And now they added running back power. Finally, they have a running back who might be able to perform with Derrick Henry, and they're keeping Justice Hill. And last year we saw some of Keaton Mitchell with the rookie Rasheen Ali they added as well. But I think their backfield is stronger, and I think they're going to have others run the ball more, and that fantasy value that Lamar had with his legs is going down.
And that's, I think, exactly. I have that baked into my rankings right now, and I think he might be. I don't want to. Would you say he's an avoid? Is it out of the question to say avoid him?
Yes,
because he's going to be going in the fourth round.
It depends on his ADP. Yeah,
but he's going to be going in the fourth round. That's what I'm saying. Is he an avoid candidate for you? Because
yes.
in the same category, you can get him, or who'd you rather have? Would you have Lamar in like the fourth round, or would you rather get Jordan Love in like the sixth?
Yep. And I'm Mike, I think his capital is way too high. The money you spend on Lamar, and we don't know what Lamar is going to do this season with the new team. I'm with you. I would avoid him. I would rather have a guy like Jared Goff in the 6th, 7th, 8th round than I would Lamar Jackson in the 4th. Because who else is going in the 4th? Like a wide receiver, running back. You're going to have a guy like, let me see, running back wise. You're going to have a guy like probably Isaiah Pacheco. Well, maybe that probably later, but maybe even Derrick Henry, Tony Pollard, Josh Jacobs, Rachaad White. Those guys could all drop to the 4th round.
Oh, man. Yeah. You can get some quality depth.
Okay. You do say that Lamar is not the best passer. Okay. He last year was top 10 in his completion percentage. So,
but his attempts though, like you got to look at his attempts. He may be top 10 in completion percentage, but he's only throwing the ball. Last year was his season high at 457 attempts. Okay,
yep.
That's still among the lowest of almost any starter.
That's 15th.
Right. But you got to think last year, look at the passing attempts from the teams, right? Because how many injuries happened for the quarterback position where people were basically starters for half the season? He was healthy.
Lamar Jackson is my number 10. Jordan, who you got at 10?
Well, number 10, I have Tua. So he finished 9th last season. That's the best he's done. I think this season he'll only do a little bit better. They didn't really, improve at the tight end position too much. Jacek's no longer there. You've got Jonnu Smith, who was surprisingly good as a receiver the past couple seasons. But then you have Tyreek Hill, who is still, in my opinion, the best receiver in the league. And then you have Jalen Waddle, and they brought in OBJ. So I think Tua is going to have another really good year. His completion percentage was almost 70% last year. He, I believe, threw for the most yards. Now, I don't think that's going to change. I think it's going to continue to rock.
See, you just said the magic words to me. I think his completion percentage was too high. I think it was too high last year. He's going to put up numbers because he's got two amazing receivers. You're right. But I have him actually ranked as my number 18 quarterback, and I have a hard time putting him much higher than that. 18.
I have him as my 16th quarterback. I just don't think I'm with you, Mike. I just don't think I think he's going to do fine. I just think others are going to do better.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think he's going to do fine. He's going to support a top offense, but he's not going to be a top player.
All right, number 9.
Number 9. Mike, who you got?
Yeah. My number 9, I actually was surprised at how low my number 9 was because I actually expect big things out of this guy, but I have Kyler Murray sitting at my QB9 rank. I know this might be a little bit more of a hot take for some people, but I think his rushing capabilities are actually great. You can really see what type of offense he can run. Even last year when he came back and he was healthy, because they were actually the Cardinals were putting up about a mid-tier offense as far as points per game go once he came back. But before that, the offense was literally like dead last in the league. I think they were bottom 2 or 3 teams in the league as far as points per game. So he can really command an offense when he's there. And he added a huge weapon in Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah. I was more optimistic than you. I had him in actually number 5, so we'll get there. I think Kyler Murray. I feel like he's going to have a great season. He's finally healthy. He's got legs. He's got weapons. I could see, and he's been a top quarterback before. I think this is his year as a comeback player.
I have him at 16th. Now my turn to have somebody in the next set of 12 rather than you guys having someone I have in top 12.
As a backup
don't think
candidate.
I don't think he's going to come back as strong as people hope. I think that Marvin Harrison Jr., just like most rookie receivers, he'll put up 1,000 yards. He'll have a really good season, I think. But I think he's going to go through growing pains. I think Kyler Murray is going to have to adjust. He's never played a season with this new coach, so I don't have as high hopes. We'll see.
So
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So like who would you compare Kyler Murray to? Like who's around him in your standings if you have him at 16?
You can read it.
You can.
I can read it. You guys can't.
So
I can read
Our
it.
audience can't.
Oh.
Our 3 people can't. So
Yeah.
I have him. Okay, so here's my feeling. It's just that Kyler Murray hasn't played with this new coach a full season. He's got some new receivers, while all these other quarterbacks, these new younger guys, have had like a season or 2 to gel with their guys. Like we talked about Mahomes coming back and having another season with Rashee Rice. Jalen Hurts has only improved his passing touchdown and interception rate every past 3 seasons. And I think it's only going to continue to get better. CJ Stroud, he now has Diggs. Jordan Love, another year with his 3 guys. Dak, he cooked with CeeDee Lamb. What are we saying about Kyler Murray? He's coming back.
Would you say he cooked lamb?
He's not even going to... Yeah. He's not even coming back to the same crew. His coach is different. His receivers are different.
But I think his talent is there, right? Like if you look at his first 3 seasons in the league, he was quarterback 6, 3, and 10 on the seasons. The season in 2022, when he hurt himself, he played 11 games and he still finished as quarterback 19, which is barely behind where you have him, and he only played 11 games. And then that took him out for half the season, last season, right? And when he came back, he was still able to prove it. And now he's coming back healthy, still a mobile quarterback, knows how to pass, has both Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr. So I think he's got weapons. He's got some people to really build around. The team is turning it around itself. I see him having a solid season.
We'll see. His legs are going to save him, but his weapons are a rookie and a sophomore. We can't say yet that he has good weapons. They still got proof.
They have high profile prospects.
I'll agree with that.
Okay, thanks, guys. Number 9, I had Anthony Richardson. I think he's going to have a big improvement. I think nope, Mike doesn't, but I think he is going to be a top 12 quarterback. He had 4 rushing touchdowns in the 1 game, 2 games he played last season.
4 games.
4 games. So that
7
means he had 1 rushing.
3 games, 4 were rushing.
Right. He's gonna. Gosh, that was 4 games, and he had 7 rushing touchdowns. I could see him being one of the leading rushing quarterbacks in the league this year, and I think that's going to pay off at number 9.
I also have him pretty high, but Mike,
I I have him at 15. Okay. And I actually can see a world where he can even go as high as the top 2 or 3. I really can. He can blow up. But in also the same exact 4 games he played last season, he also had 3 fumbles. So he's going to, if he's going to keep fumbling like that, and by the way, let's also not forget he got hurt not once, not twice, but somehow 3 times in that 4 games. So he's got to prove that he can stay healthy. He's also got to prove that he can throw, because right now we haven't seen anything about him throwing. He was able to support Michael Pittman Jr. a little bit, but like Michael Pittman Jr. had a good season once Gardner Minshew came in, right? It wasn't really with Anthony Richardson. We don't know how he's going to be around this offense. We don't know how he's going to be health-wise. We don't know if he can hold on to the ball. I just think his rushing capabilities are insane. He might be better than Lamar, but until he proves something, I can't put him in my top 12.
Yep. So Jordan, your number 9?
Yeah, my number 9 is Jared Goff. I think he's going to have another season of being awesome. And I think that I think Jameson Williams is the key here. Jameson Williams, if he can step up and finally produce, and I think that he was probably the focal point of the offseason. They're like, Jared, you do what you keep doing with Amon-Ra, and then Jameson Williams, we're going to work you in more and step up, bro. If he does that and Amon-Ra continues to do what he did, Jared Goff is going to have another top 10 season.
See, I agree with you, but I think he's going to. It's not going to be Jameis Winston Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams. It's not going to be him who they're going to rely on. It's going to be the now experienced Jahmyr Gibbs, who is going to get a lot more in the passing game, and Amon-Ra and Sam Laporta. Between those 3 threats, and it's another year under the belt together as a team, I think Jared Goff. I have him at number 8. He's my number 8 pick, but I think he's going to be a top 8 quarterback.
I have him at 13. I have him just outside of the top 12. I think he's going to be very good in the passing game. And I also agree with you, Tyler. I think he's going to dump a lot of passes to Jahmyr Gibbs, and I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to have a hell of a time in this offense. But I think he really gets hampered, and he really gets demoted in my list because he just doesn't rush at all.
Yep.
I know you like your rushing quarterbacks, Mike. I like your points about Jahmyr Gibbs, though. I didn't even think of him.
Oh, yeah. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to end up being – he's going to light up the league, essentially. He's going to catch more this season,
you think, out of the backfield?
I think so. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to really actually step up his reps this year. I mean, keep in mind, the first 3, 4, 5 games last season, they really didn't have Gibbs play all that much. I think he's going to take much more of a 50-50 share with David Montgomery, and they're going to be a lethal running group.
Yep.
And David Montgomery will be ground and pound guy. So
right. So that was pick 9. Going on to pick 8.
Yeah, going on to pick 8. I see Tyler. No, I see Jordan. You have Anthony Richardson. We obviously just covered him. I covered Lamar. He was my pick 8.
And I talked about Goff.
So I think we just move on to 7, right, boys?
Let's go.
So I'm gonna say at my number 7. This one was one of the surprises to me. Okay, but I have Jordan Love. Jordan Love having 3, in my opinion, 3 very capable, very promising young wide receivers to throw to, on top of having some rushing capabilities and a Packers offensive line, which is pretty solidly good every year. I think he's going to have a real good season.
Yeah.
And good for him. He just got a huge contract.
I agree. I think he's actually my number 6 pick. I think he's going to be a great fantasy quarterback between his passing ability and his run game. I got him at number 6, and Jordan, I know you got him even higher.
I have him even higher. He finished at number 5 last season. But, I think he's just going to continue to build on what he did. He's not really losing anybody. Aaron Jones is gone, but that's not really going to make a huge difference in his fantasy value.
See, right. I just want to point out exactly what we have here, right? So we've gone through picks 12 to at least 8, right? And we've already mentioned Jordan Love, and we've already brought up ADP, right? So I'd much rather take Jordan Love or Kyler Murray in the 6th, 7th round rather than, Pat Mahomes or Lamar Jackson in the top 2,
Right.
3, right?
100%.
I think it's just so much better.
Right.
100%. At
Or
my
Anthony
number
Richardson.
7, I had Joe Burrow. I think Joe is he's finally back. He's finally healthy. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. They've got he's Ben Sinnott now as a rookie tight end, hoping he does well. So I got Joe Burrow at number 7.
I have Lamar Jackson, who I know we talked a lot about. My only 2 things that keep me hopeful is that having a true running threat with him, a good running back, if Henry's healthy the whole season, it may open him up more with the defense because now they got to watch both of them. And so he might even get more rushing yards. But in terms, or I should say yards per carry, not rushing yards. But I also think that Isaiah Likely, we saw him step up towards the end of the season. With a healthy Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews, I think that there's a real possibility that Zay Flowers is wide receiver 3. As in Likely and Andrews. Those are his guys, and they're both
There are talks
very
about
good.
that, Jordan. There's talks and there's reports out of camp of the Ravens that it is number 1, number 2, the 2 tight ends, and then it goes to wide receivers, which again goes into the passing game, right? I don't trust any receivers really in that offense because I just think Lamar, they've mastered the run game and they've mastered the short passes. Why would they try to have somebody who's going to stretch out the field?
In the final weeks, Isaiah Likely did step up. He, had a week with 14.3, a week with 13, 5.6, then 16.2 and 9.1. So while Mark Andrews was out, he stepped up. If he continues to produce, I think Lamar could make up for that. He's not going to be top 3, but he could still be number 7, where I have.
Yeah. I could see it. At number 6, we already mentioned I had Jordan Love and Mike and Jordan, the same pick at number 6.
We actually matched. Oh, Jordan, you could take it.
So, they didn't do anything to improve, but I think that has both pros and cons because they didn't improve the running game, which means that the focal point is still going to be that CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott.
You didn't mention who you picked.
Wait.
Dak Prescott.
It's
Dak. My bad.
Right.
I thought you said Dak. I thought you said they have the same
Nope.
one and then said Dak. Dak Prescott. That's
Nope.
who I have. The
I
CeeDee
did
Lamb, Dak Prescott connection. My bad. Is I think it's just going to continue to be really good there. That's going to be the focal point. They didn't do anything to really improve the running game, so I think they're going to have to lean even harder on that. The only downside is Brandon Cooks had kind of a downward season towards what he's pretty much capable of, but it's a contract season. I think he's going to ball out, and he's still going to be top 6.
I agree. I think Dak Prescott's going to have a massive year, and I do think it's going to pretty much be on the backs of 2 people. It's going to be on the backs of CeeDee Lamb, he's going to be the one supporting everybody, right? But then on top of that, I think Jake Ferguson is going to have a great season. You're talking about this tight end who actually saw more red zone targets than anybody else last season. He just didn't kind of come down with the catches. Now, I'm not sure if that's because he just had an inefficient year or if maybe he just isn't that good. I think he is. So I think he's going to really bring down those catches, and I think both of them are going to really light the lamps this year.
And
I had Dak at number 4, and again, it was simply because of that CeeDee Lamb connection. Last season, Dak ended number 3, and I don't think things are going to slow down for the Dallas Cowboys. So I had Dak at number 4.
Yeah,
they'll slow down a little. That's why he's number 4 now.
Oh yeah, just a little. But you know what?
Just a smidge.
We're going into number 5 now. I'd say we're talking about 3 guys we've already talked about. But I'm going to say I have Joe Burrow here. I think Joe Burrow being healthy now is going to absolutely break fantasy again with T. Higgins back and Jamar Chase. Just basically he's going to sling it and it's going to be caught everywhere.
I had Kyler Murray.
I had Joe Burrow at 14th. Number 5, I had Jordan Love.
Joe, You had him at 14? Oh my God.
I can see it. I could see it.
You can?
Yes.
I can't, but it's okay. I'll go into number 4, which I this is a shocker. Because okay, we'll see. I have Josh Allen. Yes, the Josh Allen who seems to be allergic to any other spot than QB1. I have him falling to number 4 because losing Stephon Diggs, whatever shell he was, he isn't anymore. I don't think Stephon Diggs is going to be as great anymore, sure, but Josh Allen losing his top receiver and then really transitioning to the run game and using James Cook a lot more in the last half of the season, I think he's going to really have his numbers go down. So I have him falling to QB4.
Yeah. Allen was number 1. No surprise there for me. I just still think he's going to dominate.
I had Josh Allen at 3.
Are you not worried about him losing his receiver? His only receiver?
No,
I'm not.
I mean, he did lose Gabe the Babe.
No,
Gabe
he
the
shall
Babe.
not be named. He had 15 rushing touchdowns last season.
Because he had no one to throw to after a while.
And now he's got no one to throw to either, so maybe he'll get 20 this season.
Which honestly might help him because he also had 18 interceptions. So
yeah, dude. He had 15 rushing touchdowns, which is huge. But he's not going to be number 1 again, I don't think. I have him at number 3. I think it's going to depend on Keon Coleman, and if Shakir can really keep up his catch rate and still do that with twice as many targets.
Yeah. At number 4, I had Dak Prescott, which we've already talked about.
And at number 4 is where I have CJ Stroud. First time this name's been mentioned. I think he's gonna really go continue where he's been just dominating last year. I think that's gonna continue.
He's just riding the escalator upward at this point.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he was 11th last year. I think he's going to be. So that's why I didn't put him in top 3. I just think I'm not sure he's going to, skyrocket. But Diggs, I think, is going to probably just cause a locker room issue there. But he'll still be able to spread out the ball. And it's going to kind of be like Jordan Love last year, having 3 options every game. He's going to have Nico Collins. He's going to have Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell. No. Yes.
Yeah.
Tank Dell. Nico Collins, Tank Dell.
Yes. Yeah, Tank Dell. Yep. I had Stroud actually as my next pick at number 3. I think he has one of the most, probably the best touchdown interception ratio in the league. I think he actually leads the league in least interceptions. I think that continues. I think you see his passing attempts increase now with Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, and Nico Collins all healthy. Last year, he ended with almost 500 attempts. This year, I think he's going to end closer to where Dak ended last season, around the 580s, 590s, because we know who he's throwing to. So he was my number 3. And Mike, I know you had him high.
I have him as my... I feel like there's a bit drum roll here. Can you get a drum roll?
No
drum roll. I have him as my number 1 quarterback. And I actually am kind of blown away. This is so annoying. Okay. I have him as my number 1 quarterback. I think he's going to blow up. I think he's going to blow up for all the reasons that you guys were saying before. But what you're forgetting is he also has a pass-catching running back, too. They got Joe Mixon. So he's going to be throwing to not only 3 wide receivers, all of which who I think are going to go over 1,000 yards. All of them. They just paid Nico Collins as the number 1. They have Stephon Diggs who's going to demand targets. And they have Tank Dell, who showed nothing but being a craze. And then on top of that, they have Joe Mixon to throw the ball to. I think he's going to be just fantastic. I have them putting up 4,900 yards as a team in the passing game.
You bring up a good point in Joe Mixon. He does catch the ball a lot out of the backfield. And he's just good enough to help CJ Stroud, but not good enough to have so many carries he takes away from the pass attempts.
Yeah. And honestly, I just don't think they're going to be a team that's going to run the ball all that much. I could be a little wrong with that if they end up getting into close games, but I don't know if their defense is going to be able to contain teams if they're really gunslinging it. I think it's going to be high-powered offenses pretty much both times. I think there's going to be high-scoring games.
Yeah, and
Man.
like to your point though too with the pass catching backs, in the event or when the inevitable happens and Joe Mixon does get injured, Cam Akers is a great backup to be that pass catching back, and I think that only does increase CJ Stroud's value because if their pass catching back goes out, they have another one so long as he finally keeps his knees healthy.
Yeah, but we'll see.
Number 3. We talked about Mike. You picked Pat Mahomes.
Yep.
I picked C.J. Stroud, and Jordan had Josh Allen. Moving on to number 2, we finally have some our last new player to talk about, and that is
Mr. Hurts. Jalen Hurts, I think he's going to have a spectacular season. I think he's really going to put up some crazy numbers, especially him teaming up with your favorite player, Jordan Saquon Barkley. So I think the offense is going to cook. I think with A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Saquon now in the mix, and Jalen Hurts all together, they're just going to be on fire.
Man, I really do think Jalen Hurts is going to cook this season. His passing has gotten better every season. The amount of touchdowns he throws has gone up. I think all your points that you brought up about CJ Stroud, he has a pass catching back. He's going to catch it out of the backfield. I really think there's real potential. Jalen Hurts is number 1 this season.
Yep, I
totally agree.
I had him at number 2. So, Mike, you and I had the same ranking for Jalen Hurts.
This is
Jordan,
where
I know
I have Pat
said
Mahomes.
you're number 1, but yes,
I have Mahomes, who I almost put as number 1 because he's been number 1 twice. He's been number 4 twice. He's gonna bounce back, man. Xavier Worthy is gonna be awesome.
I actually had him at number 1 for a little while. I just then I took out some physical throws and it just lowered him a little bit, but I had him at number 1. He's my number 3.
Man, I do think he's going to bounce. I don't think he finishes 8th again.
No.
Basically, what I'm trying to say is
soon.
Tyler is wrong.
All right. Number 1 picks. So we've already talked about them. So Mike, let's go and who are our number 1 picks?
My number 1 pick, as I already said, CJ Stroud. I think he's going to be the number 1 guy, and it's going to be on the backs of all of the pass catchers that he has. I think he's got the best trio of wide receivers in the league.
I said say it, not explain it.
Well, I explained it. Gotta explains it.
I was listening. Please finish.
Well, Please now don't. I'm done.
Oh, number 1 quarterback ranking is Josh Allen.
Why, Tyler?
He just will be.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you so much.
Man, actually, I think Tyler might be right. He's a statistical anomaly when it comes to how many times he's repeated as a number 1 or really top 3 fantasy quarterback, but I don't think anyone has as many top or number 1 fantasy football repeats as he does in the past 10 years out of like any of the 4 positions. But I still have Jalen Hurts. Mostly because Saquon.
Yeah. I think you look at Josh Allen, he did have 15 touchdowns last year, but look at every year before that. He had 7, 6, 8, 9, 8, which is still a lot, don't get me wrong, but he basically doubled his annual production. So
Man.
I think that's going to go down. And on top of the fact that he does like to throw the ball a lot, he's not throwing to anyone anymore. So I just think he's going to go down in stats.
So that was one final comment, Jordan.
When you guys went to do your stats, this would be in your top 24, top 12, what pick that you ended up ranking surprised you the most?
I'll go first. And it happened because I was genuinely shocked at how high this guy went. I had Daniel Jones at one point in my top 12. And I put that on the backs of his rushing capability is, I think, forgotten by a lot of people. And I really believe in Malik Neighbors. I think he's going to be a stud when he hits the NFL platform. So those 2 reasons put Daniel Jones almost in my top 12, but he did fall to top 16 once I put fumbles in.
So I'd like to point out something that I find extremely ironic. all the points that you made about Kyler Murray earlier could pretty much apply to Daniel Jones. He's coming back from injury. He has a number one first-round receiver, Malik Neighbors, and he's a very good rushing quarterback. He moves his feet a lot. And 2 years ago, Daniel Jones did finish number 9th. And where did you put Kyler Murray? 9th on your list.
I'm confused at your point.
No,
What
I
is
just
your
think
point?
my point is all the points that you said about Kyler Murray earlier apply to Daniel Jones, I think, as well. You know, he is a good rushing quarterback. If he gets back to his 2021 form, he could be very good.
The thing about Daniel Jones in his 2021 form, he was also unreal with his production as far as completion percentage. It was significantly higher than his average. Kyler's been pretty consistent throughout his years playing.
Yeah,
That's fair. That's fair.
my surprise was actually Mr. Baker Mayfield at number 13. We've talked about him. I think he's going to perform. I think he's a great, 12th, 13th, 14th ranked quarterback if you can get him. Money for what you're paying.
Man, I think my surprise here is that I've got Matthew Stafford and Aaron Rodgers ranked so low. They truly,
Yeah.
I feel like, I'm just going to package those two guys together because they're from the same era. They have the same style of play. And a lot of things that we were saying why maybe Dak isn't higher, he doesn't run as much. Dak plays a little bit like a younger version of these guys. We're going to get zero rushing out of either of them, but they've got really good receivers. And I don't know, it just bumps me out to see Aaron Rodgers and Matthew Stafford at 19th and 20th for me because I love those guys.
I agree with you, and honestly, this is part of the reason why I kind of like the idea of lowering quarterback rushing touchdowns. I wish they were the same to be 4, so that way actually good quarterbacks would be a little bit higher on these ranks. But it is tough. I will say this: I'd had one other surprise. Justin Herbert fell to 21 for me, which I look at him as a easy top 10, arguably top 5 actual skill-wise quarterback in the NFL. And it just sucks to see him fall so far because of the fact that he's not throwing to anyone in particular anymore, and they're going to be a running team.
Yeah, I actually had Justin Herbert at 15th, and I think it's mostly because of what you just went over. His supporting cast, it's kind of the opposite of CJ Stroud and Jordan Love. Not a great supporting cast right now. And he's the best player on that team by far, it feels like.
Yeah, I had him at Justin Herbert at 18, so he definitely dropped on my boards. But that is the end of the episode. Right? Anything else?
That is the end of the episode. I'm waiting for you to do some kind of like clapping or something. Okay, there you go.
All right, thanks for joining in. That was episode 27. Give us a like, give us a follow, and see you next week. Thanks for listening, everyone. Take care, and bye.